The stars were quiet, and the galaxy had long forgotten the name of Earth. In a distant part of space, far from the blue planet, a small research ship floated near a dead world. It was called the Insight, and it belonged to the Carthian Federation. The Carthians were a proud species who believed they had seen all there was to see in the universe. They studied ancient signals, dead planets, and lost tech, but they never expected to find proof of a myth. Inside the ship, a man named Luke Brenner sat at his console. He was a scientist who studied old stories from long-dead civilizations. On his screen, strange energy pulses blinked in a pattern that didn't belong to any known race. It came from buried machines on the cracked surface below, old relay buoys covered in dust and time. Luke's heart beat faster. This signal repeated every 7 minutes, like a heartbeat from the past. "Nina, come see this," he said, turning to his partner, Nina Wells, the ship's language expert. She walked over, her dark hair pulled back, eyes sharp with focus. She studied the symbols as they scrolled across the screen. After a long silence, she whispered, "This isn't random. It's a message." They worked for hours, matching the symbols to old data files. Some of the words matched legends, stories of a lost race called humans, the kind who walked on 2 legs, dreamed of stars, and vanished without a trace. The message spoke of survival, exile, and a promise. We will return. On a faraway mining colony called Irene, a man named Danny Cole sat in his broken-down ship fixing an old radio. He picked up the same signal by accident. Static cleared for a moment, and he heard the rhythm of the pulse. It sounded like the stories his grandfather used to tell. Tales of Earth, of people who flew between stars before the Great Silence. Danny didn't believe in myths, but this felt real. Back on the Insight, Luke and Nina stared at the final translation. The signal was a beacon, not a cry for help, but a warning. Someone had built these machines long ago, and now, after thousands of years, the signal had been sent again. "Someone heard it," Nina said. Luke looked out the window into the dark. "And if they're real," he said, "they're already on their way." No one on the Insight spoke. The silence of space felt heavier now. Something was coming, something the galaxy had forgotten. But the stars, it seemed, still remembered. Deep beneath the moon's surface, in a hidden base built from old war tunnels, a woman named Ellen Rye stood in front of a large screen. She was the captain of the Endurance, the lead ship of the human Armada. The screen showed the same signal that Luke and Nina had found, the ancient beacon pulsing from the edge of space. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp with purpose. "They found it," she said quietly. Behind her, General Kyle Morris walked in, his boots clicking on the metal floor. He had spent his life preparing for this moment. "It's time," he said. "They know we were here. Now they'll know we're back." In the silence of the solar system, a great machine woke up. Across the moon, Mars, and the icy rings of Saturn, hidden docks opened for the first time in 2,000 years. Ships that had waited in darkness powered on. Lights flickered to life. Engines hummed with stored energy. The Armada was real, and it was moving. On Mars, a woman named Tracy Lowell stood on a high ledge, watching the first fleet rise from the red dust. She was an engineer who had spent 30 years building these ships. Her hands were rough from work, but her heart was full. "We built them not to fight, but so no one could forget us again." One by one, the warships broke free of gravity and climbed into space. They were long and dark, shaped like blades, with glowing blue lines along their sides.
Each carried the old symbol, a ring of stars wrapped around a double helix. It was the mark of Earth, the mark of humanity. On Earth, now called Sol 3 Remnant, people gathered in cities under glass domes. They looked up at the sky as the last ships left orbit. Some prayed, some cried. They had lived in silence for so long, hiding their past, teaching their children only pieces of the truth. But now, the truth was flying into the stars. Ellen Rye stepped onto the bridge of the Endurance. The ship shook slightly as it joined the fleet. "Set course for Vera 7, she said. "Let them see we are not ghosts. Let them see we are alive." Thousands of ships turned together like a school of metal fish and jumped into folded space. There was no sound, only a ripple in the dark. Humanity was no longer hiding. They were coming back. Not for war, not for revenge, but to be seen, to be known, and to finally come home.
Far in the outer edge of space, near a glowing cloud of gas and dust, a small alien freighter floated silently. The crew, 6 Carthians in gray uniforms, were scanning the stars when their screen blinked red. Something was coming. Not from a known path, not from any star route. It was a ripple in space, like a stone dropped into water. Then they saw it. Thousands of ships, dark, sharp, and moving in perfect line, poured out of a tear in the sky. No sound, no warning, just a vast fleet, silent and powerful, forming a wide circle around the dead system of Vera 7. The freighter's captain froze. "Send the signal," he whispered. "Send it now. They're real." On the Carthian homeworld, panic spread fast. The High Council met in a tall glass tower that reached into the red sky. Leaders argued, shouted, and called for weapons. They had read the old myths. The humans were gone, erased, a story for children. But now, proof floated in space. Luke Brenner stood before the council, calm but firm. "We found their beacon," he said. "They didn't vanish, we forgot them. And now they've answered." Nina Wells played the human message again. It repeated in many languages, clear and strong. "We are the people of Earth. We left in peace. We return in strength. We seek only to remember, and to be remembered." Not all believed. High Marshal Griggs, a tall Carthian with cold eyes, stood up. "They have weapons. They moved in silence. This is not peace, it's invasion." He ordered warships to the border. Interceptors, drones, and heavy cruisers powered up and flew into deep space. Meanwhile, Danny Cole sat in a small cell on Irene Colony. He had been caught listening to the signal. Guards watched him, but he only smiled. "You don't get it. They're not here to kill. They're here because we forgot them." When the Carthian fleet arrived near Vera 7, they saw the human Armada waiting. Not attacking, not moving, just watching. Drones floated between the ships, scanning, learning. Then, a small human probe, shaped like a spinning helix, drifted toward a Carthian cruiser. It came in peace, but one turret fired. A quick burst of light. The probe exploded. Silence. Then, 3 human warships turned. Their engines glowed blue, weapons locked on. No one fired, but the threat was clear. Back on the Insight, Luke looked at Nina. They're not myths, and they're not forgiving. The galaxy had forgotten, but now it was learning fast that humans were real, and they were not alone anymore. The silence after the shot was heavier than space itself. The small human probe was gone, burned to dust in a flash of light. But the human fleet did not attack. Instead, 3 warships moved forward, their dark hulls cutting through the void like knives. Blue energy built up along their sides, not weapons of fire, but gravity pulse emitters, designed to bend space, not destroy ships. On the bridge of the Endurance, Captain Ellen Rye stood still, her hands behind her back. "No blood," she said. "Not today, but they need to know we are not weak." A signal was sent, a single command. In response, one of the dreadnoughts fired a controlled gravity pulse. It hit the space just beside the Carthian fleet. The stars twisted. 2 alien ships spun out of control, their systems shaking, but not broken. It was a warning, clear and sharp. "They could have killed us," said a young officer on the Carthian flagship. His voice shook. "They chose not to," replied Admiral Vrel, gripping his seat. "This is not war. This is power and control." On the Insight, Luke Brenner watched the data. "They're not here to fight," he told Nina. "They're here to be seen, to be known." Nina looked at the human message still playing on her screen. "We seek only to remember, and to be remembered." "Maybe we were the monsters," she said softly. "We erased them from history. Now they've come back to fix it." On Irene Colony, Danny Cole broke out of his cell. He ran to an old radio tower, guards chasing him. He didn't care. He climbed to the top, turned on the broadcast, and spoke into the mic. "This is Danny Cole," he said, breathing hard. "The humans are real. They're out there, and they're not angry. They're disappointed, because we forgot. We forgot who they were, what they gave, what they lost." His voice echoed across the frontier. On the Endurance, Tracy Lowell listened from her station. Tears fell down her face. "We didn't come for revenge," she whispered. "We came so no one else would be erased." Back in Carthian space, the High Council argued. Some wanted peace, some wanted war. But the truth was spreading. Old records were found, proof that humans had once reached out, offered knowledge, trade, friendship, and were attacked out of fear. Ellen Rye sat alone in her room, looking at a photo of Earth before the fall. Green fields, blue oceans, children laughing. She touched the screen gently. "We didn't leave," she said. "You made us disappear. But we're back. And this time, we won't let you forget." The war did not come. Instead, something rare and unexpected began: understanding. On the Endurance, Captain Ellen Rye met with Luke Brenner and Nina Wells. They came in peace, wearing simple clothes, no weapons. The room was quiet, lit by soft blue light. Holograms floated in the air, images of Earth, of cities, of families, of music and art. Luke stared at a video of a child laughing on a beach, waves crashing behind her. "This was your world?" he asked. Ellen nodded. "Yes. Before the silence. Before you forgot us." Nina's voice was quiet. "We didn't know. The records were erased. Your colonies were destroyed. We were taught you never existed." "But we did," Ellen said, "and we survived." Slowly, the truth spread. Humans had not been conquerors. They had built bridges between stars, shared knowledge, helped weaker species. But fear grew. Other races thought humans were too fast, too strong, too different. So they wiped them out. Not in one war, but in many small ones, across centuries. The survivors fled, hiding in the dark, waiting. Now they were back, not with rage, but with memory.
Scientists from both sides began to work together. They opened old human outposts, found frozen seeds, books, music, and messages from long-dead families. One child on Irene Colony listened to an old song called "Let It Be" and cried, not knowing why. Danny Cole became a guide. He traveled with human ships, telling everyone he met, "They're not here to rule. They're here so no one else gets erased." On the Carthian homeworld, a new school opened. Its first lesson was about humans, not as myths, but as people. Children learned their history, their dreams, their pain. Tracy Lowell stood at a memorial on Mars where the first ship had risen. Beside her, a Carthian girl asked, "Why did they wait so long to come back?" "Because they wanted to be sure," Tracy said. "Sure that we would listen." In the end, there was no war, no revenge, just a quiet return. Human ships stayed in space, watching, helping, sharing, not as masters, but as neighbors. And across the stars, new words began to be spoken. They thought humans were myths, until they came back. The galaxy had forgotten, but now it remembered. And this time, it would not let them go.